there, and welcome back to the channel. So, I'm recording drums, or beginning to record drums today, and I wanted to show you a pretty simple way to record drums on your Zoom R24 without getting into serious phase issues, which can happen when you use a lot of microphones. So we're only going to use 4. So what I do, and by the way, today I've got a little more open space. I can literally walk around here and like move for once, mainly because what I decided from the 2 songs that I'm playing, because both the parts are pretty similar, because the 2 songs are kind of similar in style. One's a little faster than the other one, but stylistically they're similar, so the parts are kind of similar. And I decided I wasn't using the low tom or the 12-inch, and then I also got rid of the ride cymbal because I wasn't smashing that. I was just staying on the crash here. So basically, simple songs, simple drum parts on these 2 tracks, and I've got it concentrated right here. So that makes it easy. I can actually walk around and like move for once. Usually I'm just like crawling around back here. Can't make a video where I walk around much because there's no way to do it. So I solved that problem by having a very simple setup. Alright, and I like this setup. So the first thing I do is I set up my bass drum. So this is only 4 mics, right? The origins of it are a recorder man, which is just these 2 mics and 2 overhead mics. And a lot of the couple 1 and 2, I think, of Led Zeppelin, those couple of albums, they were recorded with like 2 mics in a similar way. What I did was take the idea of Recorder Man, which is just the two overhead mics, and then added the Glyn Johns kind of thing, where you have a bass drum mic and then you have a separate snare mic. Mainly because if you're recording like softer music, something that was like jazzier or just not so heavy duty, as far as like loud guitars and stuff, this might suffice, and it would actually work, for those kind, because it gives you a lot of air and it really records the room. If you have a really nice room, it really is cool. And you can look that up. There's a lot of videos on YouTube that talk about Recorder Man, how to do it, what it is, why it works, why the downsides of it, blah blah blah. For me, the downsides of it is I wasn't getting enough snare cut and like just slam, and I really like the bass drum to be so that was kind of lacking. Because you only get bass by pointing this way. You don't get any of this out here. It's just kind of recording the room. So everything's more diffused. So I wanted a more direct approach, so I put this one out here to get the bass drum. I put this here 3 inches out, and I have this stick here with measurements. So this is my 3-inch measurement. I just place it here. There's the snare drum mic. The snare drum mic that I added in is a large diaphragm condenser. It's an 8kg P220, I think it's called. And it's okay, it's pretty good, especially when you can adjust things, through the Zoom, roll things off. Sometimes it records highs a little rough. It's a cheap mic, but it works. And that is, like I said, 3 inches away from the snare edge, and it has the minus 20 dB pad. So you're cutting 20 dB right off the top, otherwise, it's just blowing up. Then I've got 2 ribbon mics. These are a Cascade Fathead ribbon mics. I don't think that company's around anymore. I looked them up a while ago, and they were gone, and I probably bought these almost 20 years ago, and they've been really good. They have the original transformers in them and everything, and they work great. I never upgraded them to like Jensen's or vintage Altec. I just used the ones that are in there, and they sound great. Alright, so those are the ones I use for the 2 overhead mics. And that, I forgot to mention that on the condenser mic for the vocal, I have to have the gain way down. I mean, the gain's off, because I'm using, that's another thing. This microphone goes directly into the Rain preamp that I have over here, and that's where I get my my signal. Then from the preamp with the phantom power on, because this has to have phantom power, I'm connected back out to channel 1, and on channel 1 I have the high Z off. I just turned it off, and I've got the gain down to like 0, and I have the channel strip pretty low, like way down, because this is just really loud, the snare drum, and that mic is it's sensitive. These 2 mics, this one here is going into input 2 or track 2, and there's no additional preamp. I don't have the Rain, I only have 1 Rain. It's just a single unit, a mono unit. So I have this one going right into the channel strip, and I've got the gain at like 12 o'clock-ish, and the channels at unity gain 100. So I've got my fader up to 100, and the gain around noon. This microphone, it doesn't, it's not over all this action. It's kind of off to the side and headed towards the bass drum. I have to boost the gain on that one, and that's in track 3. On that one I had the channel strip also at 100 or unity gain, and I have the gain, it's like if this is noon, it's like at 2. So this one's a little louder than this one. Let's see, the bass drum, I've got that coming into track 4. I've got the channel strip at 100, and I have the gain at like a full 3 o'clock. Because you know the microphone's pretty far out. Sometimes this will start to move during a track and work its way towards it, but it doesn't ever seem to affect it too much when you got it out that far. Okay, so 4 mics, a bass drum mic, an overhead here that's headed towards the snare and the left side of the kit, an overhead mic that's pointed towards the bass drum or the right side of the kit. Now it would be picking up a low tom and this tom here if it was here, but or a cymbal. But I don't have any of that here, so it's just going to be picking up this stuff. Next, you have to make sure when you set these things up that you don't have phase issues, which is what I like about this 4 mic method. There's really not much that can go wrong as long as you make sure these 2 overheads are are going to be in phase, that they're the same distance from the bass drum and from the snare. It's like those 3 points, they need to be the same. Otherwise, it's going to suck, because you're going to work really hard to record it, and when you go listen to it, one of the channels is going to be sucked out. That's how you know if something's out of phase. Now, you can reverse polarity in the unit, and I've done that before, but it's just best to get it correct, as you're doing it. So this one is out of play because it's not going to be out of phase. It's far enough away. Same thing with this one. This doesn't interact with phase, so these 2 aren't going to be out of phase, and this mic here is not going to be out of phase with these 2. So this works really well. You get 4 mics, plenty of drum coverage, but you don't get into like miking here, miking front, miking back, miking top, miking bottom, more overheads for cymbals, a hi-hat mic, blah, blah, blah. That's when you just if you really know what you're doing and you've been doing this for a long time, that's not going to be an issue. But for those of us who are working our way up towards being better engineers, it's just so much easier. And I like the sound. I probably would like the sound of more mics too, but I just like the way this is working, and I've never felt like my drums suffered from doing it this way. Hopefully you'll feel the same way too if you try it. Alright, so the other thing you have to do is make sure there's no phase. I'm going to set this stick over here. I'm going to pull up my two drumsticks that I'm playing with, and I'm going to set them like this on the snare drum. So I've got one atop the other, and I've just got you can't see from there, but I've got just a little bit of space between the drum capsule head, or the face of the mic, and my drumstick. Now, without moving the bottom stick on the snare, can't move at all, you're just going to tilt it over and check this mic. Same distance apart. So now we're not going to have phase issues, because this one is this far from the snare, and this one is this far from the snare. Exactly the same, not exactly, but within, pretty close. That one's far enough away. This one's far enough away to exist in its own little world. That one exists in its own little world. These 2 are interconnected and in phase, so you will not have issues. All right, next up, and I don't mic any of this stuff. It's just you pick it up with these room mics, with this style. It's more of a room mic style than a close mic style. Okay, I've got that over here. So next thing, remember the guide track from the last video. I recorded guide tracks for both of these songs. Now, what I'm going to do is I have the guide track. I have myself saying 1, 2, 3, 4, so I don't ever have to worry about losing, the clicks, the click ends. I actually talk my way in, and you'll hear it I'm going to play it back so you can hear what I'm listening to on the headphones as I play the tracks. So that might help for you to see exactly what's going on inside my head. Now, the master is all the way up to 100 unity gain, and you always want to make sure that you check that, through Pan EQ. And then, so I've got that at 100. All the other channel strips are at 100 as well, except for the snare, which is way down because of the powerful, the sensitive mic. And it's pretty simple. There's no effects. I have no effects on. I've mainly found that adding effects to the drums, and I would only do it on the snare, or maybe the first 2 channels, it doesn't really help, and it sounds so good on its own, and you can always do more. You can do your own post-production stuff if you want to pull something out or EQ something. So I find that there's no need for that, no need for effects. So what I do is I've got this guide track in here, and you're going to hear what I hear in the headphones. This won't probably sound very good, and my playing will probably be sloppy because I'm just trying to show you how it works. But you'll be able to see what it is I'm doing and try it yourself if you want to try doing this whole one-man band thing, or you may come up with a better idea, and please tell me if you do. All right, so now I've got this connected out of the left output all the way over to this like what's this thing, KB3. It's a keyboard amp, but it's just a reference. All right, so here we go. I'm going to put the headphones on. You'll be able to hear what's going on. It might sound like crap, but I'll be able to at least, tell what's going on through my headphones. I don't know how loud this will be versus how loud this will be through the camera mic, whatever. But at least show you what's happening. All right, here we go. So I'm sitting back here. I've got everything ready to go. And I'm going to hit play on my unit. I got my headphones on, and we know what's going on. I mean, you'll be able to hear, hopefully, what's going on through that thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I was talking and stuff and just wasn't focused on this song. Let me start that again. Whew, what a mess. All right, here we go. I couldn't remember what I'm supposed to do in this song. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the general idea. Kind of goofed up the ending and I was super sloppy. But the other thing that's important while you're doing this is to look down or have a click going. I don't use the click. I've got this guide track going with the guitar, and I just look over here at the flashing light on the metronome. This is set at 130 or 140. What do I have this on? Yeah, the tempo is 130. So I have that flashing light as a reference. So I'll just look over and make sure I'm still on that light. Let me show you the next one. Same thing here. This one's at 120. That one is called Down. This one's called Donut City, which is a Los Angeles reference. All right, so right here, Donut City's coming up. Here we go. Oh, and you'll hear like on that one, you can hear just, I did a little rough vocal track just so I'd know when I'm in the chorus, when I'm in the verse, that kind of thing. And it's down really low. I don't know if you can even hear it. All right, here we go. Same thing with the settings, everything's the same. Just another song. 1, 2, 3, 4. I may play with that ending for a while, but that gives you the idea, and that was terrible and sloppy. So when I be tracking tonight, I'm going to continue to practice, because it was only like 2 nights ago that I got the arrangement set up and solidified it. So that was pretty messy, pretty sloppy. Let's see how much this walked. I walked about an inch. All right, so hopefully that helped, and hopefully seeing and hearing all this, connects it for your projects. And I just hope it helps people, and that it's a good method for others too, because it's really worked out for me well. And yeah, I like it a lot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stay here tonight, keep pounding, and it's really good to have these mics in place, because some of the time you can whack them, so you need to figure out how not to whack them. So getting them all in place and practicing for a night or two is really helpful before actually tracking, because once you have the mics in place, it's a little different than when you just jam in by yourself. Alright, so like I said, after this, once I get the drums tracks done, move to guitar, bass, and then finally vocals, because all I really do is guitar, bass, vocal, drum thing. Don't have any other instruments going. Alright, so like I said, hopefully it helped. Hopefully everyone's having good luck with their projects out there. I was just looking at the camera, like making sure it was still going. Hopefully you're still having good luck. Hopefully this was helpful. And if you have any questions or anything like that, I have people contact me all the time. Don't hesitate, and I usually learn something from you too, because I don't know everything about this machine. I just know what I do. I've got like a little path with it, but other people know much more intricacies. So if I don't know something, I will find out from someone else next time.